Vikas, the two stories, contrasting stories we've got here in Asia, Singapore starting to roll out the vaccine, but then also we heard in the US of a death of a 41-year-old congressman from the virus, shows us that this coronavirus risk is still a strong one and still remains, even though we've got global assets near these records. What do you think happens in 2021 as we do see the vaccine roll out and we hope that we're going to get some kind of handle on this virus?
Hi, good morning. So I think at least for the first few months of the year, the highest probability cases that we see more of the same across different areas. So more of the same in terms of the sectors and the companies that are doing well in the markets, but also more of the same when it comes to the nth wave of the virus. I'm guessing that at this time next year, when we speak, we'll probably still be talking about increased research and spending on viruses, but also a delay or lack of execution for many different reasons on the deployment of the viruses. But we will also be talking about companies that are seizing the opportunities as a result of COVID and how the world has changed over the past few months and will continue to change over the next few months and few years.
So with the likelihood we're still going to be talking about the virus, what are your top investment themes? Are you still looking at pharma? Are you looking at biotech?
Yes, definitely. So I would say if we think about the companies that have seen the biggest changes for them, biotech is one area, but related to biotech, it's not just vaccines, viruses. I think we should think more broadly, think about oncology as an area of growth in Asia in particular. If we think about the companies that are making this, so if we it's a crude analogy, but if you think of contract manufacturing companies and you relate them to foundries in the semiconductor space, there's not very many people who can do it. The technology is very, very specialized. It's not very portable. So I think we will see very large opportunities for years to come for biotech contract manufacturing services. And there's a large aggregation of those companies in North Asia in particular that serve not just Asia, but the world. So I think it's a pretty good environment for them. Beyond healthcare, we continue to invest in companies that provide non-linear entertainment and commerce. So what does that mean? Content that you engage with, commerce that you engage with, video games, live streaming of commerce. I think that's a big area. And then related to that, what enables all of this is semiconductors, memory, data analytics companies. Those have done well this year, and there's no reason, I believe, there's limited reason to expect that the outlook will worsen in 2021. I think, if anything, it'll get better.
A lot of those are listed in the likes of Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, which are all trading at either records or multi-year highs. How much further upside do you see in specific markets here in Asia? Which ones are you kind of hinting will get some further growth next year?
I think, as we discussed last time, all eyes on North Asia, and justifiably so this year. But as we look at 2021, I think China will still be perhaps the largest story, a very large story in markets, but the share of important headlines coming out of China, I think, will fall from a majority to a plurality. So what does that mean? I think we will see a lot of opportunities in Japan, a lot of opportunities in Korea, and India is a market to watch, especially given the capital market activity that should pick up in 2021. I think India has had, or I know India has had, limited opportunities for future tech companies up until now, but I think that changes in 2021. There will be a lot of late-stage private companies that come public, and investors will have an opportunity to invest in South Asia and not just North Asia.
Vikas, if I was interviewing you this time last year and asked you, well, what are the obstacles for a rally in 2020? And I told you that there'd be 82 million cases of a pathogen, 1.8 million people dead from it, that you'd have the worst recession in a generation, and also the geopolitical heat between Washington and Beijing would certainly be getting hotter. There's no way you would have probably said that you saw a rally, as we have done. Now, what is your outlook for 2021? Surely we can't have another year like that, so what gives?
So I would put probably close to 0% probability on any sort of large-scale rally for 2020, given everything you just described. Just for some added context, if you think back to where we were in January, we thought that there would be increased tension between the U.S. and Iran. There were fires in Australia, and then we had the virus. So a lot has happened this year. We've had many years in one. And when we look forward to next year, I think some investors, or investors broadly, often equate volatility with risk. Volatility and risk are two very different things. If you think about risk as the chance of a permanent loss of capital, I think risks are indeed higher this year than they were entering 2021 than they were entering 2020 because of the prices that are out there, the prices for which assets are on offer. So I think there is more risk in the markets today. Having said that, I think there are certain sectors, which is why we try to be selective in long-term investors, where there are still boundless opportunities. I think for many companies this year, they have discovered that. Yes? Hello?
Because I just want to get to the notion of this collision in 2021 that you are at the moment predicting between business and government, looking at big tech here in particular.
Yes. Okay. So that is indeed one concern that we probably had at this time last year. If you look at the size of these companies, the mega cap tech companies around the world, they do not operate in a vacuum. One of the paradox of technology's democratizing effects is that they also concentrate power in the hands of fewer and fewer companies. And if you look at the increasing inequality that is happening globally, I think governments will interject themselves, and you're seeing it starting in North Asia with China, what they're doing. I think the same thing will happen in the U.S. I think in 2021 and 2022, the landscape for the largest tech companies in the world, in some ways, will become more challenging. They will probably have different structures in a couple of years than they do today.
Because one of the things the pandemic has thrown up.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to say one of the things the pandemic has thrown up as well about how we really need to focus on the environment. We've also been seeing this big move as well to diversity. We do have a chart for our terminal clients showing that there has been an uptick coming through in the MSCI World ESG Leaders Index, pretty much on track with what you've been seeing with the MSCI World Index. How much are you looking at ESG as a theme for investment in 2021?
So this year was a key. ESG became a very important area of focus for us, and it is a part of our investment process, fully ingrained in our investment process. So every corporate interaction, we focus on various ESG themes. In different parts of Asia, there are different sub-themes. So governance is more of an issue that companies like to talk about in Japan, for example. In India and China, more the environment. But I think all this focus, not much of it will go to waste. I think this is very positive, whether it's about electricity consumption, water conservation, more women and minorities in boards and as CEOs. Asia really trails the West when it comes to many of these metrics, but I think that is changing, and I hope in the next few years Asia takes the lead, as it has in many other areas over the last few years.